Hello there, Aaron here, and if you're new to the channel, then welcome. As some of you know by now, if you've been on the channel for a little while, you'll know that I am a huge proponent of exploring variety when songwriting, particularly when writing riffs. In today's video, and the next one that's gonna be coming out, this is a two-parter, I'm gonna be taking a simple idea and just exploring different ways on how to create variety with it. This is all based on a simple finger-picked idea that I came up with when I was sitting on the couch, just fiddling around. So while I was working on this riff, I thought it'd be a good opportunity to explore all the different presets found in the Northern Artillery drum sampler from the mighty Ugritone. So if that sounds like your thing, stay tuned. So riff writing for me typically starts on the couch. I have my, morning coffee. I'm just kind of coming to grips with reality and just want to be, fiddling with my guitar and just get the fingers moving. That is usually the time of day where some of the best stuff that I've written comes out. I'm not really overly thinking things because I'm not thinking too much in general at that point in time. This little motif in particular was born kind of out of necessity. Though I am a big proponent of learning other people's music as a way of becoming better as a player yourself, what I personally like to do is write my own exercises or write my own riffs as a way of learning a technique. So I wanted to write something that was super simple and ear-catching and something that I would enjoy hearing on repeat. And as a result, I came up with this. Okay, so this is the initial idea. So I started by just kind of coming up with a thing on the couch. So I love the sound of it, but immediately my curiosity was piqued because seeing as it's in a higher register, I wondered how it would sound if it was brought down on the lower strings. The thing with that is I was using open strings in this particular piece, and it didn't quite translate well to some of the lower strings. So this initial idea morphed into this idea. Then I wanted to try to make a riff out of it, so I wound up coming up with something that was close to that, but not quite the same. So we have... So what wound up happening was a completely reimagined version of the riff. And by this time in the process, I'm usually off to the races and I'm finding myself going down a rabbit hole with just exploring different ways to play it. So that's what this video is going to talk about. I'm just going to show you some examples using different techniques, different ways to phrase the riff, different speeds, different feels, different tempos, all sorts of stuff. And again, I'm going to be using the Northern Artillery drums just to kind of help accentuate this. By the way, this is my preemptive apology, as you might notice that the conversation goes a little slow in the beginning. That's because I was pretty sick at the time. This was filmed back in November of 2020. I don't know if it was COVID, it was definitely a really bad flu. It felt like that at least. So that's my preemptive apology if things seem a little bit slow going as far as the conversation, if I'm not like, my usual over-caffeinated self. You have been warned. Here we go. All right, so here we are in the session. I have my first example pulled up here. When I first was fiddling with the idea and it was all finger-picked, I immediately wanted to kind of change it into something that was more, suited for the lower strings, so just a meatier type of riff. And I don't know, my kind of knee-jerk type of writing seems to go to heavier, thrashier riffs. So it seemed like a good opportunity to pull up the Ugritone and experiment with some of the presets, and I wound up going with the Northern Violence 1 setting. I just really love the way that the kick drum cuts through. It's excellent for double bass. I like the ring of the snare too. It seems to cut through these heavy guitars pretty well. So let's have a listen. So other than a stereo spreader on the mix bus and a little bit of parallel compression on the drum bus, there's nothing else that has been done to these drums. So this is pretty much how they sound going in. I just wanted to have a little bit of my way with them before I presented something to you that I found, well, presentable. So anyway, blah, 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 blah. Let's hear it again. All right, so let's take that same exact riff, same tracks, everything else. Nothing has been done differently here. It's just copy and paste situation, and brought it over here. And what I did was swap out that more, grindy Slayer-esque style beat and traded it in for something that was more kind of groove laden. To me, it sounds like something that you would hear from a band like Helmet, and just listen to the difference. So let me bring back the first example. Let's compare and contrast. So yeah, completely different vibe, right? So let's take a little look at what I did here. So this is the dancier parts, just getting under the hood. So this information right here is hi-hat. And I kept it steady for the first measure. But then I thought it would be cool to kind of mess around with the hi-hats and change where the hits are landing. So it's more of like a syncopated rhythm to kind of like push the riff along a little bit. If you see what I did here, I muted a ton of these cymbal hits. So it's like only hitting on the ands basically, and it'll give it a nice little push. Let's listen to that again. So one more time with just the straightforward feel. So yeah, the latter measure kind of gives more of like a head bobbing kind of feel to it. Same exact riff as the beginning one, but you can see how drastic it can change if you know how to work the drums to suit the riff. Anyway, let's move on. Here we are with the fourth variation on the riff, and I decided to go with the Fat Metal preset on the Northern Artillery drums. Let's take a look at this snare in particular. So these are all stock settings. I haven't really done anything to mess with this yet. I'm definitely gonna get a little bit more in depth with the functions of this, but with me, it's all about, can I write music with it right off the bat? Because I'm a child in that sense. So I explore the nitty gritty after the fact, but I just wanted to kind of dig into this and make something with it as soon as I could. So Let's see what this sounded like. The takes here are not perfect, so please forgive me, but here it is. Snare sounds awesome. So as you can hear, I added in a little guitar harmony because after playing this riff, for as many hours as I did, you tend to get ideas. But not only did I write a harmony to it, actually, let's hear that again. Let's hear this section one more time. Yeah, I also wound up, tailoring the riff to fit the drum pattern more. This was just a stock MIDI groove that TuneTrack has, and it's super repetitive. Normally, I would actually go in there and mess around with it and change it into something else, but I wound up just kind of going with it for time's sake. So let's move on to the next variation. Okay, so here is the next variation on the riff. I wanted to explore extremes as far as tempo went, and so far we've been, looking at stuff that was pretty fast, pretty driving, but this one was super, super slow. I wanted to kind of see if I could get away with taking the riff and making it sound more sludgy like Down or Pantera or some of the slower Slayer songs. My God, that is really difficult to say. So here it is. I wound up using the metalcore preset. And let's just check it out real quick. So before we hear the rest of it, it's exactly the same, except I took a couple of liberties with the fills, and actually I wanted to just do this in real time so you can see how I can take something that I just thought of. I was listening back and I got an idea real quick to make the kick drum accent the part of the riff. I think it's right here. Yep, that right there, that bow bow. So I want to get the kicks to kind of give that a bit of a lift. So where are we? So we got bow bow. So the cymbals are already doing that, but I just want to create some kicks. So that I apparently muted. I don't even remember what I did. Let's get this back over here. Let's do this real quick. And let's crank this up and make it like China or something. And right here, maybe turn this into a snare. Maybe like a Mike Borden snare fill. That's what I call it, at least. Cool. So let's hear how that all sounds from the beginning. And then even, let's see, how can I make this a little bit more interesting? All about variety. So let's see. That sounds kind of cool. Let's try. That's cool. Okay, so let's hear the whole thing now. Cool. All right, so moving right along. So there's part one. Thanks so much for watching. I hope that you got, some motivation, maybe some inspiration out of this, and I hope it helps you to, get back to working on whatever it is that you're working on. If you liked the video, if you found it to be helpful, I would appreciate it if you just gave it a like and subscribed, and drop me a comment if you have any questions. If you would like to delve a little bit deeper into this topic of riff writing and exploring variation and all that sort of stuff, I've actually put together a free video series that is taken from my upcoming course on songwriting, and I am making it available to you for free, just as my way of saying thanks for stopping by and supporting the channel. So if you're into that, click the link below in the description, and let me know if you have any questions about that as well. Part 2 is up next, so stay tuned.